Please welcome, but some of you who got my email have seen some of the work of Angel Yao, and now you can hear her tell a story. Angel Yao.
So, growing up with immigrant parents in Queens, it's really hard. But growing up with my parents, it's even harder. Here are some examples. You guys, you're probably like, oh, I had my first boyfriend when I was 5 years old, and my parents thought it was really cute. For me, it was like my parents told me that I can date after I get married. You guys, you're like, oh no, my mom wants to kick me out after I go to college. And for me, my parents want me to live with them until they die. Or I die, whichever. You guys, you're like, oh, my mom took my allowance away because I didn't do my chores. My mom once smacked my head, and she told me that she'd rather give birth to a piece of bread than to me because the bread gave her nutrients and I'm useless. So yeah, it was really hard living with my parents. And the only way I was sane, I would lie a lot. I would lie to my parents a lot. If I hung out with my friends, I would tell them that, oh, we're studying, or I'm teaching them how to study, which doesn't make sense at all, but that's what I would tell them. If I get bad grades, I told them that the report card machine broke, and the teacher told people their grades. I'm telling you. I'll give myself a B to make it realistic. But okay, all right. When I was choosing a college major, instead of, they wanted the lawyer, doctor route, but we agreed on education. They're like, being a teacher is probably good. So we were like, okay, choose education. But then I chose, I'll choose communications because that's like teaching, it's the same thing, right? But then when I got to college, I straight up switched to being a film major, which was their worst nightmare, and they're like, no arts. And then in college, it was great. I went to Ithaca College, which was a few hours away from the city, and I finally gained like my independence there. I hung out with friends without worrying that my dad has to pick me up, at 8 o'clock, because that's when he picks me up. I kissed a boy for the first time, and other things for the first time. Don't tell my parents. But in the back of my head, I knew after the 4 years, I would have to move back to my parents, and I was like dreading that moment. And then before I knew it, graduation came, and I did what I had to do. I lied. I told them that I got a really great job full-time in LA, like all the way down there, which it was kind of a lie, because I did get a job, but it was to be a production assistant for the Gladiators reboot. And it was only for a week, the job was only for a week. And I ended up staying in LA for about 3 to 4 years. And then a few things happened while I was there. My plan to become famous or befriend Paul Rudd did not come to fruition. And my dad also had a few health scares. But lastly, I did fall in love with a boy, and he lived in New York City. He was an old college friend. So I felt like it was time to move back. But then the timing was kind of crazy because my lease was up in LA, and then my boyfriend at the time, his lease was up. And he was saying how, since you're moving back to New York, why don't we just move in together? And I was like, do you not know my parents? it did make sense because I was, I didn't want to live with my parents. So the few days I moved back to New York, it was very hard for me because I didn't tell them yet, and I was looking at apartments behind their backs. And then we finally found an apartment, and in my head I was like, okay, what lie can I say? Maybe I'll tell them that I'm going to graduate school for teaching, that there's dorms there, and I have to live in a school. Or I was like, what if I don't tell them at all? We'll just see what happens if I don't tell them. But I knew I had to, and this was the moment I was dreading. It's still today the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, was to tell my parents that I'm moving out with a boy, a white boy, in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And so when we found the place, I remember I couldn't tell them, and then we were at dim sum and we're eating, and my dad right away could tell there was something wrong. So he was like, why are you so quiet? And then I told them I'm moving out. And then they were like, oh wow, that's fine. We love you. And I'm just kidding. Asian parents would never say I love you. But yeah, my parents were like, what? Like, who is this boy? You don't have a job. It doesn't make sense at all. And there was a lot of yelling and crying, and I just said, I need space. And I remember that night, my dad was like moving my dressers in my room, and he was like, you need space? Here you go. And he was just like moving everything. And it was just more yelling and crying for like a few more days. And they are very strict parents, but they do want me to be happy at the end. So they let me go again, and they helped me move to my apartment in Greenpoint, New York, with my boyfriend. And I finally felt that, this is over. I finally feel free, no more lies at all, until my dad was like, so you guys are gonna sleep in separate rooms, right? That's it. That's my story, thank you.